Natalie, we're moving on to the women's 3-meter championship final. What should we be looking for in that?
Kyle, a woman to watch is the junior from Texas, Paolo Pineda. She's been fourth. She's been third on 3 meters. So tonight is her chance to win that Big 12 Conference Championship title on the 3-meter springboard. She's so full of life. She's so strong. She's been on a rhythm. Her coach, Matt Skillkin, told me she isn't considering Olympic trials, but Matt is trying to convince her to compete on all 3 boards in the Mexican Olympic trials.
That is awesome. We're going to take a look at the women's start list here in the 3-meter championship final. We'll have Morgan Meninger from the University of Texas leading us off. Following her will be Camille Burt of West Virginia. We have Michelle Schlossmacher-Schmidt from Iowa State. And then we have TCU with Connie Dayton. University of Texas will have Jordan Skillkin, Janie Boyle, Bridget O'Neal, and as we just talked about, Paolo Pineda. So 4 Longhorns, 1 Horned Frog, 1 Cyclone, actually a 5th Longhorn, and then 1 more Mountaineer. So a lot of schools represented here with Texas bringing 5 into this championship final.
A diverse group, representation from a lot of the different schools, right, Kyle? That will definitely help in the big picture of the swim and dive championship race overall. Morgan Meninger starts us off with a back twister. The women will be doing 6 dives, 1 from each category, front, back, reverse, inward, and twister, and they'll be doubling up on another group. So, you know, no rhyme or reason why a woman will start back or front or reverse or inward, but a lot of times you'll see them start where they're standing on the edge of the springboard, just so they shake off any jitters and don't have any interruptions with their forward hurdle.
So this is Camille Burt here from West Virginia with her first dive.
And solid inward 2.5 somersault in the tuck position. She just is a little bit short of vertical, and when I say short of vertical, she just doesn't get exactly straight and parallel with the water, just causing her to be a little bit short, but sometimes that can happen on the first dive in particular. You're just kind of getting your rhythm together.
Next is Smith of Iowa State.
Beautiful forward 2.5 somersault in the pike position. She shows a lot of control and squares out of that dive just beautifully above the water. She gets to the edge of the springboard, just makes it look easy, pikes out, lines it up. And I'll talk about a noise you'll hear, Kyle. It's called a rip. The higher up you go, that's the sound that your hands make when you hit the water. So sometimes when you're higher up, you hear a louder noise, but that is called a rip when you enter the water.
That was Connie Dayton there for TCU.
The London, England native. I'll never forget Kyle. Last year, she finaled for the first time on the 3-meter springboard, and she was so excited. And like we always talk about, it's all about the progressions with these athletes, right? And all of their training and working so hard to get into the finals. It takes time.
Here's our first dive from the Longhorn, Jordan Skillkin.
She starts with a back 2.5 somersault tuck, just washes over. That means her legs just go over and make a little bit of a splash on the water. I'll tell you this, Kyle. In the women's 3-meter, the event is going to come down to the back and the gainer reverse category. So the back 2.5s and the reverse 2.5s. So the name of the game is if you can hit those dives, you will very much so be in the contest.
So we'll keep an eye out for that as Janie Boyle from the University of Texas gets ready for her first dive.
She's doing a back twister, and she was third in the prelims, had a career best by 44 points, a 347.60. So her springboard diving is really improving. She's becoming more consistent.
Up next is her teammate Bridget O'Neal She gets ready for her first dive. Once again, these ladies doing 6 dives in this championship final of the 3-meter springboard.
She was second in the prelims. Her coach, Matt Scoggin, told me she's a very strong freshman. She's been able to train consistently and she's flourishing. That was a very high degree of difficulty dive, an inward 2.5 somersault pike. Just cuts the top off a little bit, squeezes that pike and drops it in vertical with very little splash. That dive got 7.5, so that's a very, very good way to start your first round of the 3-meter springboard.
This is Paolo Pineda, top qualifier after the prelims.
She's just on a great flow right now. And Kyle, I know with the ice storm hitting Texas, Matt Scoggin told me Paola in particular, she didn't have water in her apartment for 6 days. And you wouldn't even know that her training was affected by how well she performed in prelims.
We've talked about it a few times. So many different things being thrown at these athletes over the past year. It's just amazing to watch them perform at the level that they are as Morgan Meninger gets ready for her second round dive.
Her coach, Matt Scoggin, told me that Meninger is just starting to get her strength back. She was affected more than most of the team due to COVID. She didn't have the same resources as her teammates did, but you can see she's a great competitor, and that's one thing Scoggin praises Meninger. She knows how to compete. She showed it on that dive. Nice start for Burt. It's very interesting. She just did a forward hurdle, and her coach, Carla Helder, actually switched her power leg due to her injury. Carla said, God gave you 2 legs, honey. Use them both, which in diving, your power leg is that leg that you push on to get that momentum of the springboard. So it is amazing her versatility, being able to switch her power leg so simply and then put together a strong list here in the finals tonight. Little bit of an over rotation on that dive, an inward 2.5 somersault tuck. We'll watch that again. You can see on her takeoff, buries her head a little bit, which causes her in the come out to put her head down as well, just rolling over in that entry, causing a little bit more of a splash, over completing that dive. She received 5 and 5.5s.
Here's Connie Dayton from TCU.
Solid front 2.5 pike. Beautiful, beautiful dive. Kyle, one thing I have to press about all of these athletes, they're student athletes, right? And the students comes first. And Connie Dayton has a 4.0. I mean, that is pretty amazing.
It's not often you see a student athlete excel in the pool or the field or wherever and also maintain a 4.0. So difficult and so impressive. These athletes are such students as well, and that is Jordan Skillkin of Texas.
That was a beautiful dive, and Matt Scoggin said her springboard's better than ever. She was the Big 12 conference champion on the platform, and here's a gainer 2.5. Just beautiful entry. Beautiful takeoff, set the tone, gorgeous entry. I know Matt Scoggin's happy about that dive. Like I said, it's all about the back and reverse category, who can hit those dives, and Skillkin just did.
Here's Janie Boyle, Skillkin's teammate.
Over 3.5 somersault tuck. That's a high degree of difficulty dive with 2.8. That is a hard dive, one of the hardest in this contest. Just effortlessly done. Very, very, very beautiful dive. And she'll be rewarded with great scores as well.
Up next, we have Bridget O'Neal.
Reverse twist twister. That was a reverse 1.5 with 2.5 twists. Very high degree of difficulty dive with a 2.9. You can see she gets that rhythm of the springboard and gets into a tight twist, lines it up on the entry. Very clean entry. She was vertical on that dive, receiving 8. 68.15 points.
On the board now for Texas is Paolo Pineda for second round dive.
An inward 2.5 somersault pike. Stayed on the start, just showing so much control from the start to the finish. It's all about the complete dive. From when you're standing on the edge of the springboard, getting into a tight pike, squaring out and lining it up. Girl knows how to compete, what can I say?
There's Morgan Meninger of Texas.
She's doing reverse 2.5 in the tuck position. Didn't quite get to the end of the springboard, but it didn't matter. She fixed it in the air and she came out with such control on that pike out. You'll see her feet don't quite get to the end, but she squeezes her core, gets into a tight tuck, and lines it up just beautifully. She has such beautiful lines when she enters the water. She gets 2 8s and a 7.5. That'll be 65.80 points.
Up next, Camille Burt of West Virginia. West Virginia, Iowa State, TCU, and Texas represented here, so big points in the team race.
That's right, that's a big dive. A full out, a forward 2.5 with 1 twist. 3.0 high degree of difficulty. Strong hurdle. Gets into a tight pike twist. Lines it up, just slightly over rotates, but that's a big dive. So if you can over-complete that dive, then you're doing exactly what you need to do.
On the board now for Iowa State is Schlossmacher-Smith. This is her round 3 dive.
That back 2.5 category, I'm telling you, that dive is the name of the contest. Solid takeoff, squeezes the tuck, just kicks up a little bit too high. It's all about the spots and where you see you want to pike out of the dive and be able to control that entry. And she just wasn't able to do that quite as well as she probably would have wanted.
There's Connie Dayton of TCU.
Kyle, you'll see on this dive, on her takeoff, she just slightly puts her head back, and that causes her to over-rotate and not have as much control over the bottom of that dive. See her head go back on the start. She squeezes that tuck, tries to save it on the out, but just slightly past vertical on that dive.
Here's Jordan Skillkin of Texas.
Twister, very, very nice dive. She got a lot of height on this dive. Showed a lot of control right from the top. You'll see right here, she gets tremendous height. Really nice tight twist. Squares it up and lines it out. Her toe point is just beautiful. She has such nice lines when she enters the water. Very solid dive for Jordan Skillkin.
Here's Janie Boyle.
Had a very good prelims, a career best score by 44 points. Tremendous height, a lot of power, just was not able to come out where she wanted. We're going to see this again here on this takeoff. She just puts her head back a little bit. So much height, though. Kicks up to the ceiling, and just her legs wash by. You just don't have control. When you kick your legs up straight to the ceiling, you're going to over-rotate just slightly.
And here's Bridget O'Neal, who is leading in front of teammate Paolo Pineda after round 2, rather.
Forward 3.5 somersault in the pike position, a 3.1, which is a very high degree of difficulty dive. Just so much power. Gets more than 2 flips done above the board, just flexes her feet a little bit in that pike. The judges may deduct a little bit from that, but a very, very clean entry. Really great dive for Bridget.
Here is Pineda with her round 3 dive.
Yeah, doing the same dive, forward 3.5 somersault pike, just didn't have enough gas to get it going, right? She just was short of vertical on that entry. You see right here, nice start to the dive. She just comes out a little bit early, just a little bit excited. She's so strong, she has so much power, just a little bit short, and unfortunately the judges will pay her for that.
So we have O'Neal in first with Pineda in second. We have 3 more rounds of diving, and we'll be right back with that after this. We're back with the women's 3-meter championship final. We're taking a look right now at Bridget O'Neal, your leader after 3 rounds. She is just in front of her teammate Paolo Pineda as we get ready for round 4 of this women's championship 3-meter final. That is Morgan Meninger right there, getting ready for her 4th round dive.
Reverse 1.5, 2.5 twist. 2.9 degree of difficulty. She's just so fun to watch, Kyle. She's such a good competitor. So consistent. Stays calm and stays cool the whole time. Her takeoff is just so spot on. Her twist is tight. Squares it up, lines it out. She'll receive 7s on that dive, 62.35 points.
Meninger doing a great job from that first spot. If you make the final, you have a shot at hitting top 3 no matter what. And after round 3, she was in 3rd. And there is Camille Burke getting ready for her 4th round dive. West Virginia Mountaineer.
This year, these athletes have just overcome so much, and especially Camille Burt having a leg injury. And she just recognizes the pain threshold, and she's pushing and pushing. She just sets the standard so high, and you can see that in this dive. It's a big dive, a 3.5 in the tuck position. Nicely done.
Once again, we have 3 days of competition here, the Big 12 Swimming and Diving Championships. See these ladies in 2 more events, in the 1-meter springboard as well as the platform. There's Schlossmacher-Smith of Iowa State getting ready for her 4th round dive.
Schlossmacher-Smith, her coach Jeff Warwick praises her. A lot of skill, a lot of talent, a lot of ability. She's just made strides forward with her consistency. Just a little bit short of vertical on this dive. Once again, it's that reverse 2.5. It's the dive that will make or break your 3-meter competition. You can see she just is a little bit short. Nice takeoff, squeezes the tuck. Just pulls her chest on the out ever so slightly. But her coach Warwick just said she's been really increasing her confidence level, and he's just really excited to see what she can do.
There is Connie Dayton of TCU.
Nice, beautiful reverse twister from Connie Dayton. And when I talked to the TCU coach, Anthony Crowder, he said that they were bringing hammocks to the meet so the divers could rest and relax in between dives. And he said, Dayton's probably going to be studying. She's got that 4.0. She's a really great student. And she finaled on the 3-meter springboard last year for the first time, and she's hungry for more.
There is Jordan Skillkin of Texas.
She'd like to defend her title on platform, but her coach, Matt Scoggins, said her springboard is better than ever. She was 4th after the last round. Stays on the start of the inward, just backs off a little bit. You can see on the start right here, she just cuts the top off just a little bit, pikes out right below the springboard. But a clean entry, so the judges will reward her for that nice entry on that dive. She'll receive 7 and 7.5, totaling 59.40 points.
There is Janie Boyle of Texas getting ready for her 4th round dive.
Reverse 2.5 somersault tuck. This is a big dive for her. So much height, so powerful, just couldn't control it on the entry. She just washes over ever so slightly on that reverse 2.5. You can see she gets so much height. She goes above the 5-meter and comes out above the 3-meter springboard and just over rotates. She's so strong and powerful.
And next, we do have your current leader after 3 rounds, Bridget O'Neal.
So impressive, Kyle, a freshman. Matt Scoggins mentioned to me she's been working on her arm swing timing for both backs and reverses. And once those are good, he thinks she'll be great. And she's showing that so far tonight. Very nice. It's interesting to see a lot of these ladies just have a lot of energy and excitement. Look at her takeoff, head in line, gets the dive done right at the 3-meter and just washes over on the entry. It's all about spotting and timing and what you see, and she just over rotates that dive past vertical. She still walks away with 6s on it though.
So big dive here for Paolo Pineda as she's trying to track down teammate Bridget O'Neal with this 4th round dive.
Kyle, if O'Neal wins, we may have back-to-back winners in 3-meter that are freshmen. With Jia Chen last year, Bridget O'Neal could be it this year. Oh, Pineda just short of that back 2.5 pike. We'll look at the takeoff and her pike, and she just lets the legs fall short of the dive and receives 4.5s on that dive, Kyle.
So we're going to step aside just for a second. We have 2 more rounds of diving here from the Lee and Joe Jamel Swim Center. Don't go anywhere. We have more women's 3-meter final after this. We are back in Austin, Texas. There is Bridget O'Neal, still your leader, with Morgan Meninger sneaking into 2nd place. So she's your leader through 4 rounds. Again, 2 more rounds of diving here in this women's 3-meter championship final. As we get ready for Morgan Meninger, who is in 2nd, to take to the board.
Meninger doing great, 8th in prelims, and now 2nd. She'll be doing a forward 2.5 somersault pike. So much height and power, almost a little bit too much power on that dive. She just slightly washes over on that entry. You'll see right here on her takeoff. She completes the dive above the 3-meter springboard, almost gets to the 5-meter and just washes right by on that dive. She'll get 5.5s on that dive.
Next, we have Camille Burt of West Virginia with her 5th round dive.
Kyle, looking at big picture, it's the battle of Burt and Connie Dayton of TCU for key points in the team's race for the overall swim and dive picture. Really nice reverse 2.5 somersault in the tuck position. It's a big dive for Burt right now at this point in the competition. We'll take a look at that again. See, she gets her arms all the way through, tight tuck, beautiful kick out, very tight, very much so in line. Her teammates love it. Look at that. You can see the smiles through their masks, and they're getting super excited. I know the swim team's not here the way they normally would be, but the diving teammates are really stepping up and showing excitement for their team.
Still some energy on that pool deck, even though we don't have fans in the crowd. You know, they have fans at home watching live on Big 12 Now and ESPN+. So again, we're in the 5th round here.
Nice reverse twister for Schlossmaker Smith. And Kyle, with swimming, I know it's a little bit different in getting the NCAA cut. With the diving, you go to zones, you get a score to go to zones. And between Schlossmaker Smith and her teammate, Jana Misra, they've combined for 14 zone cut scores so far this year. So that's pretty impressive. Just keep on getting the zone score and getting the zone score. It's just all about that consistency.
Once again, swimming and diving scored together, so big points at stake here. Texas pretty firmly in the lead on the women's side. Kansas in 2nd, and then the race for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, still anything but solidified.
Here's Connie Dayton of TCU doing a back 2.5. She sets up and just goes right away. I mean, she is really quick on that takeoff and just wants to get the dive over with. I don't blame her, and she really executes this dive nicely. It's all about that back and reverse category for these women. She pikes out just beautifully. Her feet ever so slightly a little bit short, but that was a very solid back 2.5 for Connie Dayton there, the London, England native.
There's Jordan Skillkin of Texas.
Pikes out, a nice rip noise on that entry for Jordan Skillkin. She obviously is a tremendous platform diver, winning the platform title last year, and she's just showing how well her springboard is as well. You can see that beautiful pike and squares out right above the 3-meter with a very nice entry on that 2.5 somersault pike.
This is Janie Boyle, University of Texas, with her 5th round dive. You can hear a few cheers from teammates down there, trying to keep the energy up for their teammates, as they know it helps so much to have your teammates there cheering you on.
Big dive for Janie here. That's a 3.0 degree of difficulty, and She was 17th last year, so this is a huge improvement to be in the finals, and we're going to watch this dive again, just beautifully executed. So much height, a tight pike, and then a tight twist. Lines it up just nicely, and she'll receive 7s on that dive. That's her first time competing 3 meters since October 30th. These divers have just been so resilient in their training and making the most of the competitions that they've had this year, because there haven't been as many as they normally have.
There's your current leader, Bridget O'Neal. 4 rounds. This is her 5th round dive.
What a dive. That reverse 2.5 somersault tuck. She showed control from the get-go. You'll see right from the start here. So much height, finds the rhythm of the springboard, pikes out, rips the bottom. That was a beautiful dive. She'll receive 8s and 8.5s. That's 68.60 points. She remains dominant, Kyle.
Dominant indeed. And your 8th diver and your last diver this 5th round can be Paolo Pineda.
She has the same dive, reverse 2.5 somersault tuck. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful dive. And you could hear that rip on the entry from Pineda on that reverse 2.5 tuck, and that's a key dive. This is a big dive for her and for these women just in general. She gets so much height, tighten the tuck, lines it up. That is going to be a very high scoring dive for Paolo Pineda as she looks to get some extra points.
One more round of diving here in the women's 3 meter championship final. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. We are back at the Big 12 Swimming and Diving Championships. We're taking a look at the women's 3 meter championship final. Your leader right now is Bridget O'Neal. We're going to take a look at her 2nd round dive, which helped secure her the first spot going into the 6th and final round.
Her reverse twister, she had such a beautiful start, tight twist, a commanding control, and a beautiful entry. She received 8s and 7.5s on this dive. That was a key dive to set the tone and set her up to be in first place in this competition.
And that is Morgan Meninger. She's in 3rd place right now as she gets ready for her final and 6th dive of this women's 3 meter championship final.
Nice way to end the competition for Morgan Meninger. An inward 2.5 somersault tuck. A lot of divers choose to end the competition on maybe one of their stronger dives, and you can see she stays on the start. She has a tight tuck and lines up the dive. She'll receive 6.5s and a 7 on that dive. And she looks happy. There's Meninger walking over to her coach, Matt Scoggin. An elbow bump. That's new, Kyle. I haven't seen that before. Got to get creative, right?
Camille Burt. Camille Burt of West Virginia. Having to get creative in these COVID times. A lot of fist bumps, air 5s, and now elbow bumps. There's Camille Burt, though, getting ready for her last dive of this championship final.
Camille Burt has increased her degree of difficulty, including a full out. So she's working on her consistency. Very nice back 2.5. You can hear the crowd of her teammates, and I'm sure her coach Carla liked it. We'll take a look at that start. She stays right on it, keeps her head in line, and a nice small tuck. She pikes out of that dive. She'll receive 6.5 and 6s. Look at her teammates jumping out of their chairs. They're so excited. That was a really big dive and a great way to end the 3-meter contest for Camille Burt.
Up next is Schlossmacher Smith, Iowa State.
Very solid back twister. That was a very nice way to end the contest. A lower degree of difficulty dive, but she's consistent with it. Stays on the start, is patient in the twist, pikes out, squares out, and has a nice entry on that dive. That'll get 6.5 and 7s for Michelle Saucemaker Smith of Iowa State.
There's Connie Dayton of TCU.
She's doing the same dive, a back twister. Dayton doesn't take long on the edge of the springboard. She sets up, she rocks a few times, and she gets her back press going. She just gets right off the springboard. Doesn't like to think, just wants to go. She gets 6s and 6.5s on that dive. That's a solid finish for Connie Dayton, which will put her above Michelle Saucemaker Smith of Iowa State. And those are some key points for TCU in the overall swim and dive race picture, Kyle.
Big points indeed. And there is Jordan Skillkin of the University of Texas, getting ready for her last dive.
You can see she's on the edge of the springboard. Half of her foot is off. Rocks ever so slightly. A very beautiful, clean entry for Skillkin on that dive. The same dive that Connie Dayton did as well. Gets a lot of height. Very nice tight twist, lines it up. She'll receive some great scores on that dive. That's a very nice finish for Jordan Skillkin, receiving 8s and 7.5s, 56.40 points. There's her teammates clapping and supporting her. This has been one heck of a year, Kyle, for these athletes, and they have just persevered and overcome everything.
Once again, so amazing to see records being broken even after all of the stuff that these athletes have been through. There is Janie Boyle.
She'll finish with an inward. Goes right in vertical, very clean dive. She executes it well, stays right on the start, keeps her head up. Shows control on the bottom. Gets right in vertical. Really strong finish for Janie Boyle of Texas.
Bridget O'Neal in first. Her teammate Paolo Pineda in second. They're both coming up next. Bridget O'Neal with a pretty sizable lead over Paolo Pineda. Natalie, is it possible for her to catch her with this last round dive?
This is a very, very challenging point in this competition. These are very key dives. I was going to say this is a big dive. She has to nail it in order to really secure this championship, and she'll receive very high scores on this dive. A nice tight pike, a tight twist, and rips the entry. Bridget O'Neal just continues to dominate. Her teammates love it because they see her every day in practice. They know what she could do. And when she executes it in the meet, she'll receive 8s and 8.5s on that dive. Paolo Pineda, in order to get first place, would need 107 points on this dive. So looks like Bridget O'Neal has this contest.
Paolo Pineda here with her final round dive at the University of Texas.
So powerful, she's so strong. That's the same dive that her teammate Bridget O'Neal just did. She gets so much height, completes the dive above the springboard, which is just incredible, almost reaching the 5-meter platform, which is the lowest platform that you'll see in the competition. We'll take you through this dive. A tight pike, tight twist, really clean, beautiful entry, but not enough to pass Bridget O'Neal. The freshman of Texas will win with a 401. Paolo Pineda will secure the second place finish with a 366.70. So a really tight race and an exciting 3-meter contest, Kyle.
Indeed. And we will back with the final results after a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We are back in Austin, Texas, where we just wrapped up the women's 3-meter championship final. Texas men taking away gold, and the Texas women taking away gold as well. Natalie, 2 events so far on this night 1 of 3, and what a way to start.
What a way to start, especially on the women's 3-meter. A tremendous performance from Bridget O'Neal, the freshman of Texas, just getting it done. She was second in prelims, had a career best score of 361.40, and she just brought it tonight in the finals, nailed every dive, so consistent. And that's something Matt Skillkin has praised her for. He says she's a very strong freshman. She's been able to train consistently, and she's flourishing. And he said he's been working on her arm swing timing for both backs and reverses, and I think she nailed them, right?
Yeah, I mean, quite the performance. You know, Texas going 1, 2, 3 with O'Neal, Pineda, and Meninger.
Yeah, she becomes the 4th freshman to win a Big 12 Conference Championship title on the 3-meter springboard. So that's an incredible accomplishment for such a young diver who has so much room to grow and so many years to improve. She will have such a tremendous career. So much promise there for Bridget O'Neal.
And 2 more events to go for the women and 2 more for the men as well. 2 more days of competition. Austin, Texas at the Lee and Joe Jamel Swim Center. Take a look at the leaderboard right there from 3-meter women's championship final. And we're going to go down to the pool deck where we have Bridget O'Neal, your 3-meter women's champion. Bridget, congratulations, first of all. Walk us through that performance.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just came in tonight just looking to have fun with my team, my first Big 12s. Not too high expectations, just going to kind of go along for the ride. And so I think that mentality really helped me out. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Bridget, your first Big 12 championship meet, you become the 4th freshman to win a Big 12 Conference Championship title on 3-meter. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I've been putting in a lot of hard work, I think, this year, especially focusing on my backs and gainers. And so I'm really trying to work on those, and I'm happy with how they went tonight and today overall. And so, yeah, I'm excited for the rest of college with my team and see where we all go.
Matt Skillkin did tell me he was working on the arm swing for your backs and reverses. Was he happy tonight with your performance?
Yes, I think so. It's a lot of up and downs with those in practice, but the last few weeks or so, it's been kind of going in the right direction. So I think we're both pretty excited about where those are going.
2 more events, 1 meter and platform. What are your focuses on those events that are coming up?
1 meter, I think I'll just take it the same way I did today. Just come in, have fun, do my dives like I know how to do, take the pressure off, and I won't be on platform, but so excited for tomorrow.
Well, Bridget, thanks for joining us. Congratulations again, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
We will be right back with just a little bit more from Austin, Texas, the Lee and Joe Jamel Swim Center. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. We're back in Austin, Texas. We just wrapped up night 1 of 3 of the Big 12 Diving Championships. Once again, swimming has concluded, so we still have 2 more nights of diving to go. We're going to take a look at the final results of the women's 3-meter championship final. There is Bridget O'Neal on top with 401. Teammates Pineda and Meninger rounding out your top 3. And then Skillkin and Boyle, also from Texas, in 4 and 5. We have Camille Burt in 6th, Connie Dayton from TCU in 7, and Schlossmacher Smith from Iowa State rounding out your top 8. So Natalie, a great night 1. We still have 2 nights to go here from Austin, Texas. What are we looking forward to the most over the next 2 days?
Tremendous performance. I mean, O'Neal, Meninger, and Skillkin all had career best tonight, and Bridget O'Neal, the young freshman, her first Big 12 Conference Championship, and she becomes the 4th freshman to secure the title on the 3-meter springboard. And Kyle, this is just a taste of what's to come. We have so much excitement with the women on 1 meter and the men on 3 meter tomorrow, and then the platform, which will secure the entire competition.
Well, for Natalie Kalibat, I'm Kyle Sockwell saying so long from the Lee and Joe Jamel Swim Center in Austin, Texas. A quick reminder that all sessions are airing on the ESPN networks and are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.